I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Amberley Village City Council of January 8th, 2024. Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Here. Adam Frankel.
Here.
Ben Hunt.
Here.
Keely Paul. Here. Bob Rosen.
Here.
Darrell Wood.
Here.
Scott Larmer.
Here.
Andrew Kakey.
Here.
Chief Wallace. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Lieutenant Bloom.
Here.
Claire Eichner.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of business is the meetings from the previous council meeting. I believe they were included in your packet that went out. Are there any questions or comments or additions? If not, we will assume that they are approved as they were sent out. Now call in the manager to give the finance report.
Thank you, Mayor. The finance report for November 2023 has been included in your council packet. A summary has also been provided, focused a little bit on general fund revenues. Earnings tax for the month of November totaled a little less than $160,000. That brings the village up to a year-to-date collection amount of just a little under $3.7 million. So we're almost at the 100% collection rate. On the other revenues, the village collected $244,000 in revenue during the month of November. Thus far, we've taken in $6.1 million. Our estimated revenue for the year is just a little over $6 million, so we've actually exceeded the collection that was estimated. On the expense side for the general fund, during the month of November, our expenses totaled $358,000. Our budget for the year is $6.9 million, so we've spent a little over $6 million, so we've spent about 87% of the general fund budget. Obviously, the expenses that are left to be spent, there are a large number that will occur in December, so you'll see that next month. That left us at the end of the month of November with a 5.9 unencumbered general fund balance, and that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments for the village manager? Thank you, Scott. We'll now go to the Public Buildings and Parks Committee report.
Thank you, Mayor. On December 6th, the committee met and we discussed the ball field renovations for the ball fields known as the Greff Fields that are in the municipal park, just immediately adjacent to us. Hang on a sec. My phone and I are enemies. There we go. So I'm going to thank Chris Fritch in zoning, who applied for a very specific Hamilton County Public Health grant that is tied into part of the COVID funding that's still existing. Chris packaged 3 projects together to meet the grant's goal of $35,000, 2 of which we don't have to approve. So one was 3 new water fountains that are ADA compliant. The second is 5 recycled plastic picnic tables that are going to replace existing ones. And then the last one is updates to the 2 Greff Fields. So the Greff Fields periodically need to be updated in that they go in and they regrade using soil and fresh sod. It was last done 10 years ago, and we're now at a point where the fields are having problems when there's rain, which is what kicked this project off now. The fields there were some games had to be canceled in 2023 because the fields were flooded. So this project is over the mayor's authority at almost $17,000. So Team Sports did this Team All Sports did this in 2014, and they made a bid for this at, again, $17,000. The project will take 2 days, and it'll be done before the baseball season starts. And this is totally covered by the grant that, again, Chris got. So first of all, I want to thank Chris. and the entire village staff for going above and beyond always to try to find grant funding for these projects in the village. We really do appreciate you. And then now to the resolution. So the resolution is 2024-1. I do feel special. And it's awarding a contract for $17,000 to Team All Sports to renovate the upper and lower ball fields in the municipal park.
Is that a motion?
I would like,
Okay.
if you'll let me make the motion, I'll make the motion
Okay.
to adopt resolution 2024-1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 2024-1, which will allow the village to accept a grant to rehabilitate the ball fields. Are there any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please note that the motion carried unanimously.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Finance Committee. If council will recall, last month we approved the property and casualty insurance rates for the village for 2024. There was one item that was left open that had not been bid by our insurance broker, and that was for excess liability coverage. The village has liability coverage for every incident up to $11 million, and in previous years we have purchased an additional $5 million of liability coverage over and above that 11 million. Unfortunately, because of some circumstances in the market and because of the amount of claims that the insurance industry has had to pay out in the past few years, the cost for that additional liability insurance has been excessive. I think the bid came in at $28,000. And it was the recommendation of from our insurance consultant that the village pass on that, and the committee agreed with that assessment. Does anybody have any questions about that? If not, that concludes my report from Finance Committee. The next committee to report is Streets, Public Utilities, and Sewers Committee.
Thank you, Mr.
Which is,
Mayor.
I was the former chair, and so it's a big
I'm aware.
responsibility.
And I appreciate and accept such responsibility. Thank you. The Streets, Public Utilities, and Sewers Committee met last year, I've been told, and discussed something that, from what I understand, only rivals with rock salt, and that is the approval of the rate increase of CT Consultants. So CT Consultants are the village engineers. They've been the village engineers for many, many years. The range of increase is from 4.91 to 5.12, so 4.97 rounded up to 5%. The committee met and approved or agreed upon this rate increase, and as such, now is bringing forward as a motion to approve. So I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-2, feeling slightly special, authorizing a rate increase of CT Consultants.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2024-2, which will authorize the village manager to enter into a contract with CT Consultants for their rates for 2024. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution surprisingly carried unanimously.
All right.
Great job.
My job here is done.
Does that complete your report?
I hope so.
Okay, thank you very much. The next committee to report is the Law Committee. I will call on Councilmember Rich Bardak.
Law Committee met this evening. We typically try to meet around every 6 months to review legal expenses for the village. Happy to report legal expenses are down. I believe expenses from January 2023 through October 2023, the expenses are around $32,891 and change. Some of the bigger expenditures were on storm drain litigation and some ordinance work from the Human Rights Commission. But as I said, overall, Legal expenses are down. Typically, the law committee, we budget around $60,000 a year for legal expenses, and we're far beneath that. So that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Now call on Village Manager Scott Larmer to give the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. There are 3 items in the manager's report I'd like to mention this evening. The first is Officer John Burton is being recognized this Thursday for the Robert Hovader Award for Valor. This is a result of for his bravery and selflessness in defending his fellow officers during a standoff of a bank robbery in Reading this last year. So he'll be celebrated at an awards banquet, and we certainly congratulate Officer Burton and join the Hamilton County Police Association in honoring his service to our community. Well, the second item I wanted to mention is the village has implemented a message on hold system. In the past, anyone who was placed on hold when they called the village would be listening to music that would be coming through the phones. We now have a message on hold system where if you're placed on hold, you're going to hear different informational messages about the village. So it's an opportunity for us to not only improve our customer service, but also to help inform and educate anybody while they are put on hold, might learn a few things about the village. So if you're interested in hearing what those messages are, you can call the village and ask to be put on hold, and you'll listen to them. Okay. And the last item is I just wanted to recognize Andy Kakey. He was recognized as a 2024 Super Lawyer. This was a division of Thomson Reuters. Super Lawyers utilize a very patented selection process, and they choose those who are outstanding in their fields. And certainly Andy has done this before, and so for 2024, he was selected as well for this. So it's quite an honor for him to be our solicitor, and appreciate his work on our behalf. So congratulations to Andy. We're proud that you're representing our community. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions or comments on the manager's report?
One question. Scott, I am just kind of curious what informational messaging is intended to be on that voicemail hold call message.
So it's going to be a combination of standard messages that would apply regardless of the time of year, but then also seasonal messages.
Oh, good.
So like during leaf collection, we would encourage residents to rake their leaves to the street, talking about brush pickup, or if there's snow and ice information we can share. The messages will be changed once a month, so we do have to be selective on the timing of them. We don't want to promote a particular event like the one-stop drop, and it's still playing 30 days after the fact. So it just takes a little bit of work to manage that. But any kind of messages, and if council has suggestions about the types of messages you'd like for our residents to hear, we certainly would be interested in that as well.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for the manager? Hearing none, we will go to the chief's report, and we have Lieutenant Bloom.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple items to kind of touch base on. The first one's going to be something that just occurred, and then I don't know if anybody saw it because I just heard it hit the news a little bit today. We didn't release anything about this, but midnight, 1 a.m. of January 7th, there was a bad, not terrible as far as injuries go, but an auto accident here at Ridge and Burning Tree involving 2 vehicles, and one of the vehicles was an OVI operator. Unfortunately, had 2 children under the age of 4 in the car without car seats, had a loaded firearm in the car. So naturally, when that person went to the Justice Center, the news agencies pick up on that kind of story pretty quick. So I think they may have put something out. I know at least on Channel 12, we had some calls from Channel 5, but no apparent serious injuries. Just very unfortunate for the children involved and the other party involved as well. But just wanted to enlighten you in case you see that did occur here. And that was around 1 a.m. on January the 7th. The other topic I want to talk about on the police side, as far as investigations goes, another burglary that we had last month up in Roman Estates on Amber Creek, and affiliated with the same organized crime South American group that's doing all these burglaries, unfortunately, all over the United States, it seems right now. That we did track down 4 individuals that committed that burglary. It's been quite a process along the way, you know, between flock cameras, GPS tracking, things that we did, tracked them up through Pennsylvania where they committed some other burglaries. They ended up in Queens, New York for a few nights, and then we finally were able to track them down in Greenwich, Connecticut. So we actually sent a couple officers up there with search warrants to go through the car they were driving. We recovered some of the stolen property from here. We got some of the cell phones back to do some evidence on those kinds of things to help strengthen our case. But just wanted to kind of enlighten everybody that occurred. And then the last thing I wanted to announce was that we have now hired a police officer to replace Ryan Fair, who left us a few months ago. And it's going to be, the young man's name is Christian Russ. He has some experience as law enforcement. Currently he works at Gulf Manor. He's familiar with the area. And he's going to be sworn in on January the 16th. And he'll get going. He'll get through our field training officer program for a couple of months. And then hopefully he can start the fire academy. He's not fire certified. We'll get him in the fire academy in March and hopefully out early May. So hopefully, if all goes well, by June 1st, we can have him released and on the road and back to full staff as far as our shift coverage goes. So, and that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments for Lieutenant Bloom? I would just like to comment, and I hope I speak for council, that you extend our congratulations to Officer Burton on his award. And I'd also like to extend at least my appreciation for the amount of work that went into investigating this burglary ring. I think it speaks volumes about the professionalism and the steadfastness of our police department, and I know that it's something that our citizens value greatly, and so I just want to make sure that, at least publicly, we're on record to recognize that, and hopefully you can pass that on to the other officers.
I certainly will. Thank you very much.
I wanted to add that it's really impressive how the flock cameras, which we just installed, are already helping out. They helped, I understand, in this investigation, and when it was sold in, to talk about how they could be used through all other parts of the country that had flock cameras. They could be used as a teamwork, a network. Really impressive. And that's such a quick payback on that new technology.
I agree. Thank you.
I have a quick question. I heard that Ericum, I guess some residents are pulling together some funds and putting in a flock camera. I'm not sure.
They are, and I'm not sure exactly where the status is on that. I know Sergeant Smith Gosling was helping them get that organized.
The reason I asked that is I was going to maybe suggest we could ask, I would be happy to try and organize that in my community to see if residents would be willing to contribute. I'm sure it's a nominal fee if we split it amongst the entire street.
Yes, I can have Sergeant Smith Gosling touch base with you.
Don't mind.
Yeah, he deals directly kind of with Flock on that, and I know he was dealing with Bob Clayton for that. He was kind of representing the neighborhood, trying to gather the residents who were interested in
I'd be happy to
pulling
do
their
that
funds.
for my neighbor. I just didn't know who the contact person, maybe some other residents might be interested in their areas, but I think that's a great idea for Eric to pool the cost of it for
Yes.
groups of streets.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I'll have Sergeant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you know if Chief Wallace got to like the different neighborhood associations? Because that's something he talked about a few meetings ago, about trying to get some of these neighborhood associations to either pitch in the money or get the neighborhoods to do it. And
Yeah.
I don't know how involved that is.
Yeah, there's some conversations about it. I think the issue kind of was with some of the neighborhoods, they don't really have a homeowners association yet, or nobody really wanted to take the responsibility to organize it and sign off on things. But I know that, I think we've made some adjustments, maybe with the village. Scott, you might know a little better about how the funding works as far as pulling the money in for one payment to Flock for that.
Yeah, for the majority of the private flock cameras, they have been self-funded through the neighborhood. We have one neighborhood that is interested in providing the money to the village, and then we will purchase the flock camera on their behalf. It's still their responsibility, but so we have made that accommodation just so that we can advance the cause here of getting more flock cameras privately installed that we have public access to.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be bad to, and maybe there is one already, but to have a little article or some promotion about it, because I think, like, when I heard about it, we talked about it within our neighborhood to try to get some people to sponsor it, and it's clearly going on in Councilman Bardak's neighborhood as well.
Right.
So maybe there are others that would be willing to step up.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Lieutenant Bloom. Mayor's report. So one of the things the mayor gets to do is make appointments to a number of outside boards and organizations. And tonight, I would like to have council make a motion to approve Barbara Wallen, who is sitting in the audience, to be the Amberley Village representative to the Pleasant Ridge Montessori School.
I can motion if you want.
Yeah.
I make a motion for Barbara Wallen to be our representative to the PRM committee.
Moved and seconded that we approve Barbara Wallen as our representative to the Pleasant Ridge Montessori. Are there any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please note that the motion carries unanimously. Thank you for volunteering and stepping up. Okay, that's great. And then finally, I would just like to thank our previous representative to that board, who was Terry Hogan, who served for a period of a month and a half, year and a half, I'm sorry. A year and a half. I'd just like to acknowledge her service and to thank her for serving during that period of time. Is there any new business? No new business. Since a number of council people did not receive the preliminary copy of the manager's evaluation, we are going to reschedule our executive session to the February meeting. So unless there's any further business, our meeting is adjourned.